The first time my family asked my 12-year-old daughter to prove her loyalty, I didn't realize they were testing me too. The second time, they attached a price tag to her place in the family. By the third time, I understood something I wish I'd learned decades earlier. This wasn't about money, it was about control. I didn't raise my voice when my mother called me that afternoon. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't argue. I let her finish every sentence, even the part where she said it like it was reasonable, like it was obvious, like it was something any good family would expect. She needs to contribute, my mother said. It's important she understands how family works. I remember staring out the window while she spoke, watching a delivery truck idle across the street, the driver scrolling on his phone, completely unaware that my understanding of my own family was quietly cracking apart. How much? I asked. There was a brief pause, just long enough for her to decide whether to soften it. $100. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice even. She's 12. Yes, my mother said calmly, and old enough to learn responsibility. I didn't respond right away. I thanked her for calling. I told her I'd talk to my daughter. I said goodbye politely, like we'd just discussed dinner plans instead of placing a financial burden on a child. When I hung up, I sat there for a moment, longer than necessary, phone still in my hand, because some part of me already knew what I was about to walk into. The house was too quiet. Not peaceful, not restful, just off. The kind of quiet that feels like it's watching you. Like the walls are waiting for you to notice something they already know. I stepped inside and saw her at the kitchen table. My daughter, Hannah, her backpack was on the floor, tipped over like it had been dropped without thought. One strap was twisted underneath it. Her shoulders were pulled inward, tight and rigid, like she was trying to take up less space. Her hair was tied back too tightly, exposing the curve of her neck in a way that made her look smaller than she was. Her hands were flat against the table, palms down. Still, too still. "Hey," I said gently, too gently. My voice already knew. She looked up, and my stomach dropped. This wasn't the usual tired. Not the school was boring tired or I stayed up too late reading tired. This was exhaustion with weight behind it. The kind that dulls a child's eyes. The kind that doesn't belong on someone who's barely old enough to be thinking about algebra, let alone money. I set my keys down slowly, like noise might shatter her. "What's going on?" I asked. She blinked once, carefully, like she was choosing the right version of herself to show me. "Nothing," she said. The word came out practiced, controlled. I waited. "I just did some work," she added. "Work." The word landed wrong. "You worked?" I asked. She nodded, straightening her back, as if posture could hide fatigue. "I helped clean Mrs. Parker's house. For a few hours. A few hours." My eyes dropped to her hands before I could stop myself. The skin around her knuckles was red, irritated. Her fingertips looked raw, like they'd scrubbed something that refused to come clean. When she shifted her fingers, there was the smallest flinch quick enough that she probably thought I wouldn't notice. "She paid me," Hannah said. There was a flicker of pride there. Just a flicker. $20. I wanted to say I was proud. I wanted to tell her she was responsible, hardworking. I wanted to be the kind of mother who celebrates initiative. But then she rubbed her palm and whispered, "I still have homework, but my hands hurt. I can't hold the pen right now." Something tightened in my chest. "Let me see," I said softly. She hesitated for half a second, then turned her hands over. They were pruny in places, like they'd been soaked too long. There were faint yellow-purple bruises near her wrist. Nothing alarming, nothing that would send us to the hospital. Just too much. Too much for a child. "Hannah," I said quietly. "Why did you do this today?" She stared at the table like the wood grain might tell her what to say. "I needed money." "For what?" I asked. I expected a book, a game, something small she didn't want to bother me about. My husband and I weren't struggling. We weren't rich, but we were stable. The kind of stable where your child doesn't need to earn money to feel secure. Her mouth opened. Closed. "It's not for me," she said. The air shifted. It's for Ava, my niece, my sister's daughter, the child my parents talked about like she could do no wrong. They're collecting money for her birthday, Hannah continued. Everyone is. How much? I asked, already knowing. She hesitated. 100. I stared at her. $100. No child should feel sore and exhausted because of another child's birthday. That sentence should not exist. Who told you that you had to pay? I asked. She swallowed. Grandma. She said it the way you say the name of someone who decides whether you're safe. What exactly did she say? I asked carefully. Her eyes shone. She blinked hard, trying to keep the tears inside. She said, If I don't contribute, then I'm not really part of the family. My body went still. What? She said family supports each other, Hannah whispered. And if I don't help, then I shouldn't expect to be included. A tear slipped down her cheek. I didn't ask you, she added quickly. I thought it had to be my money. If you paid, it wouldn't count. I felt sick. I broke my piggy bank, she said quietly. But it wasn't enough. I knelt in front of her, my heart aching in a way that felt old and familiar. Oh, sweetheart, I said. You didn't do anything wrong. But even as I said it, I knew this wasn't confusion. This was pattern. I stood up and walked into the living room with my phone in my hand, because there was still a part of me, a small, stubborn, humiliating part that needed to hear my mother deny it. She answered cheerfully. Hi, honey. Mom, I said. Did you tell Hannah she needed to pay $100 for Ava's birthday? A pause. Not surprise. Not confusion. Yes, she said. That's right. She's 12. 12-year-olds can work, my mother replied. It builds character. My pulse roared in my ears. Did you tell her she wouldn't be family if she didn't pay? Yes, she said calmly. She needs to learn what it means to support family. I stared at the wall as something inside me went quiet. Not anger. Finality. Okay, I said. What? My mother asked. I have to go. I ended the call, and standing there, listening to my daughter's chair scrape softly against the kitchen floor, I realized something that terrified me. This wasn't new. It was just the first time they'd done it to my child. I need you to understand something about me before this story goes any further. I wasn't born strong. I wasn't born brave. I wasn't born with the kind of backbone people like to praise after the fact. I grew it the way you grow scar tissue, slowly, painfully, and only because the same place kept getting hit over and over until my body decided it had to adapt or break. I was the oldest. That single fact explained everything in my family. There were 3 of us. Me first. Then my sister, Nora, 2 years later. Then my brother, Ethan, the miracle baby, the one who arrived like a blessing everyone agreed to protect at all costs. When my parents talked about our childhood, they always used the same phrase. We were struggling back then. They said it like weather, like a season that happened to us, not a series of choices. And when families struggle, someone always gets chosen to understand it. That someone was me. Nora got to be cute. Ethan got to be little. I got to be reasonable. On Christmas mornings, Nora would unwrap something that made her squeal. Ethan would get something bright and soft and age-appropriate, and my mother would clap her hands and say, "Look at his face." I got something too. Not nothing, that would have been too obvious. Something small, something practical, something that came with a smile and a sentence that sounded like praise. "You're older," my mother would say. "You understand." They said, "Understand," like it was a gift, like it should make me proud. And for a long time, it did. Because when you're the kid who gets less, you don't call it unfair. You build a story that hurts less. You tell yourself the others need more. You tell yourself money is tight. You tell yourself love just looks different when you're older. You tell yourself you're fine. Chores came next. When I was tall enough to reach the sink, I was tall enough to scrub it. Dishes, laundry, cleaning, babysitting, holding the house together while my parents worked and my siblings lived. Nora was busy with school. Ethan was too little. Funny thing is, Nora stopped being too little. Somehow, she stayed too busy. By the time she was the age I'd been when I started running half the house, her chores were optional, the kind you could forget without consequences. Mine were not optional. Mine became my personality. "You're the responsible one," adults would say. Like responsibility was a crown and not a chain, and I believed them. I was 12 when I started working. Dog walking, cleaning jobs, babysitting, little neighbor things people paid kids for because it made them feel generous. My parents loved it, not in a proud way, in a useful way. They called me independent, mature, a helper. And the money? It didn't become mine. It went where family money goes when you're the oldest. Groceries, bills, just until payday. We'll give it back. You understand, right? I always understood. When Nora and Ethan got old enough to work, they didn't. Not once. Do you know what I told myself? I told myself we must be doing better now. Because imagining your parents are unfair is like imagining the floor might disappear beneath you. You'd rather keep walking and pretend you don't feel it wobble. If I ever hinted at it, if I ever let a sentence slip that sounded like, "Why do they get more?" my mother shut it down fast. "How could you even think that?" she'd say, wounded. "Of course we love you all equally." Then she'd smile, sweet as poison. "But you're the oldest," she'd add. "You have to contribute. That's what family does. Contribute." That word shaped my life. It became the reason I didn't go to college. My parents said they supported whatever I wanted. They were generous with words. Money was another story. They said debt was dangerous. They said I should be practical. They said it wouldn't be wise. I looked at the costs and the lack of support and felt that heavy certainty settle in my chest. There was no way. So I went straight to work. I got the pay rent and don't die experience instead of dorm rooms and late nights. I climbed anyway. I worked harder than everyone else because I didn't have a safety net. I became reliable. Eventually, I landed in management. Stable income, decent life, the kind my parents loved to brag about. And then Nora went to college. Then Ethan. There was money then. Not a lot, but enough. When I asked careful, casual, pretending I didn't care, my parents gave me the same answer they always did. "We're doing a little better now." And then the closer. "You're the oldest. You understand." Nora changed majors. Got married, had kids. Money was always a problem. Always just out of reach. Ethan graduated and went traveling. I remember hearing about it and thinking, where did he get the money? I also remember my parents' voices when they talked about it. He needs it. He's finding himself. It's important for his life, so they helped him. By then, I was the only one with a truly stable income. My husband and I built our life carefully. We planned. We budgeted. We didn't treat other people's money like a backup plan. My parents retired. And the family story shifted smoothly into its next chapter. I contribute. Monthly transfers. Mortgage gaps. Emergencies. Quiet little payments that became background noise. Normal. Expected. Invisible. Then Nora's kids became the center of everything. Ava was the golden child. The one my parents couldn't resist. Gifts that made my jaw tighten, not because I wanted her to have less, but because 2 days earlier, they'd told me they couldn't afford something. They laughed when they told me about Ava's gifts. We just couldn't help ourselves. Hannah got budget presents and familiar explanations. "We'd love to do more, sweetheart, but..." And Hannah smiled politely, because she had the same illness I did, understanding. My husband noticed long before I did. "They treat Ava like royalty," he said once, quietly. And Hannah, like an afterthought. I told him he was imagining it, because if he wasn't, I'd have to accept something I'd spent my whole life refusing to see. And then Hannah came home with sore hands. And my mother looked at my daughter and did to her exactly what she'd done to me. Only this time, I could see it clearly. Because it wasn't happening to me anymore. It was happening to my child. And suddenly, understanding didn't feel like a virtue. It felt like a trap. I didn't call my sister right away. I want to say I did. I want to say I was decisive and fearless and ready to confront her the moment I hung up with my mother. But the truth is, I stood in the living room and tried to find a reason. Because people like me don't stop things without proof. We collect reasons the way other people collect souvenirs. We line them up neatly so we can finally give ourselves permission to walk away. My sister Nora wouldn't know, I told myself. She wouldn't let this happen. I dialed her number. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey," she said brightly, like she'd been waiting. "Did you know?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. "That Hannah was asked to contribute $100 toward Ava's birthday?" "Oh yeah," Nora said. Just like that. No pause, no confusion, no shock. "Oh yeah." I closed my eyes. "Nora," I said. "She's 12. She sighed, already irritated. "I know, but it's for something big." "What?" I asked. Her voice warmed instantly, energized now. "It's a program, an equestrian thing, through the school. Ava's friends are all going. She's been talking about it forever." Of course it was. "How much?" I asked. "Tuition's $900, she said casually. $900. I laughed once. I couldn't help it. The sound came out sharp and hollow. "So," I said slowly, "you're collecting money so your 12-year-old can go to a $900 program, and you decided my 12-year-old should help pay for it." End quote. Nora made a noise like I was being unreasonable. "It's only 100. Only." I let the silence stretch. "And I mean," she added, "I knew Hannah had been doing little jobs, so she has income." My jaw tightened. "She's just like you were," Nora said, half fond, half expectant. "Responsible. I thought you'd be proud." That was the moment something clicked. Not when my mother threatened my child. Not when Hannah came home with sore hands. That was the moment the shape of the truth locked into place. "No," I said. Nora paused. "No what?" "No," I repeated. "Hannah isn't paying for Ava's program." "It's not a program," she snapped. "It's an experience." "Oh," I said dryly. "My mistake. My 12-year-old still isn't funding it." "You're being dramatic," Nora said. "I'm being clear," I replied. "We're not contributing." Her voice cooled. "Supporting family is a good thing, you know." There it was again. Family. Obligation. Contribution. The same song. Different verse. "I have to go," I said. I ended the call. For a moment, I just stood there. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt empty. Empty like when you finally set something down and your arms don't know what to do with themselves. Then my body moved before my fear could catch up. I opened my laptop. My banking app greeted me with soft colors and friendly fonts, like it wasn't about to expose a crime scene. I clicked into recurring payments, and there it was. All of it. Standing transfer. Parents' mortgage support $420 per month. Monthly transfer. Nora household help $310. Kids support fund $80. Emergency buffer refill $60. Miscellaneous family support $95. I stared at the screen, because when you see it all at once, it stops being generosity. It becomes a system. I clicked the first one. Cancel. Confirm. The app asked if I was sure, polite, and neutral. Yes. I canceled them one by one. No announcement. No warning. Just consequences. It should have felt terrifying. It felt clean. Like exhaling after holding my breath for years without realizing it. The front door opened an hour later. My husband stepped inside, loosening his tie, exhaustion written across his face. He stopped when he saw me at the table. "What are you doing?" he asked. I looked up at him. "I'm taking my life back." He studied my face for a second, then his shoulders dropped. "Okay," he said. "I'm with you." Hannah appeared in the doorway, clutching a small envelope. Bills and coins inside, folded and unfolded too many times. "I counted," she said quickly. "I have 90 now. I just need 10 more. My chest tightened. "I can ask Mrs. Parker," she added. "She might need help again." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a $10 bill. I placed it in her hand. She blinked. "Mom, you're not going," I said gently. Her face froze. "What?" "You're not paying," I said. "And we're not going to the party." Panic flickered across her face. "But Grandma said..." I knelt in front of her. Listen to me. You don't pay for love. If someone tells you your place in the family costs money, that's not love. That's a transaction. She stared at me like she was hearing a new language for the first time. What if they don't want me? She whispered. Then that hurts, I said. And it's not your fault. We don't chase people who treat you like that. I opened my phone and typed one message into the family group chat. Hannah will not be attending Ava's birthday. She was asked to pay $100 toward the gift, and that is unacceptable. We won't be coming. Send. The chat exploded. Calls. Messages. Accusations. I set the phone down. The next morning, I woke up to 53 missed calls, and I knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. I knew something was wrong before I even parked the car. It wasn't intuition. It wasn't a feeling. It was sight. I was still rolling forward in the pickup line when I saw them standing near the curb like they belonged there. Like this was normal. Like this was allowed. My parents. And Hannah was with them. Too close. Her shoulders were tight. Her head slightly bowed. One hand twisted the strap of her backpack like she was holding herself together with string. She wasn't crying, but she was breathing in short, shallow bursts, the way people do when they're trying not to fall apart in public. My heart dropped so fast, it felt like I'd missed a step. I parked crooked. I didn't care. I got out before the engine was fully off. Hannah, I called, sharper than I meant to. She turned, eyes already glassy. My mother turned too, wearing that familiar expression concern arranged neatly on her face, like furniture placed carefully for display. Oh, sweetheart, she said warmly, as if I'd just arrived early for a family dinner. We just needed to talk to her. My father stood beside her, silent as always, watching without intervening. He never did. Why are you talking to my child? I asked. My mother's mouth tightened. Don't make this harder than it has to be. That sentence, the one she always used when she meant comply. They walked away like this was a coffee break, not an ambush, leaving Hannah shaking on the sidewalk. I knelt in front of her immediately. What did they say? I asked. Her face crumpled. It's my fault, she sobbed. I ruined everything. The world tilted. What? They said I destroyed the family, she said, words tumbling out between gasps. Everyone's mad because of me. Something hot and sharp ripped through my chest. No, I said firmly. No. I shouldn't have told you, she rushed. I should have just paid. Then you wouldn't be fighting with them. That was when I understood. They hadn't come for me. They'd come for her. They'd found the one pressure point that still worked. I cupped her face gently. Look at me, I said. This is not your fault. Not in any way. She shook her head, crying harder. They said, they're wrong, I said. They've been wrong for a long time. In the car, she cried quietly, wiping her face like she was embarrassed to be human. When we got home, my husband was there. He saw her face and his expression changed instantly. They cornered her at school, I said. His jaw tightened. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where this started, and told Hannah the truth, not cruelly, not dramatically, just clearly. Love doesn't come with threats, I said. Grown-ups don't get to blame kids for their choices, he added. But they're family, Hannah whispered. They're related, I said. That's not the same thing. That night, I made the decision that changed everything. They didn't get access to my child. Not ever again. I removed them from pickup lists. Emergency contacts. School permissions. It wasn't dramatic. It was paperwork. And it felt like building a wall brick by brick with my bare hands. A few weeks later, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw them. My parents, my sister, standing on my porch like a committee that had come to audit my boundaries. My husband stepped in behind me. Solid. Quiet. I opened the door. My mother smiled first. She always smiled first. We're willing to let this go, she said. My sister nodded. Yeah. Mom says you're still upset about the $100 thing. The $100 thing. My mother waved her hand. A misunderstanding. That was their apology. So, my mother continued, we can put this behind us and go back to normal. Normal. I pay. They pretend. No, I said. My mother blinked. No what? No to normal, I said. No to payments. No to you showing up here. My sister scoffed. You're punishing everyone. I'm not funding you, I said. That's not punishment. My father finally spoke. We're family. You keep saying family and hearing ATM, I replied. My sister's voice sharpened. You make more than me. You can help. And you've always taken, I said calmly. This is selfish, she snapped. No, I said. This is protection. I called Hannah to the hallway. You don't get to use her, I said. Ever again. They left without another word. I closed the door. Click. And that was it. 6 months passed. Not the dramatic kind. No tearful apologies. No surprise visits. No long letters explaining everything I was supposed to forgive. Just silence. The clean kind. I didn't hear from my parents because I didn't answer. But silence has a way of leaking through other people. Relatives who didn't want to get involved somehow always had updates to share, usually right after reminding me they weren't taking sides. My brother's traveling ended early. Apparently, self-discovery has a return policy when the money runs out. My sister picked up longer hours. She complains a lot now, about prices, about stress, about how unfair everything feels. Which is fair. Paying your own bills is a bold new experience when you've never had to do it before. My parents are selling the house. They call it downsizing, going cozy. Sure, cozy is one word for, we can't afford this anymore. When I heard, I waited for the familiar stab of guilt, the reflexive urge to help, the old pull in my chest that used to say, you could fix this. You always do. It didn't come. What came instead was clarity. Because here's the thing, no one tells you when you finally stop paying for everyone else's life. The problems don't disappear. They just return to their rightful owners. Meanwhile, our house feels different. Not bigger. Not louder. Just lighter. Hannah doesn't come home with sore hands anymore. She doesn't flinch when her phone buzzes. She doesn't rehearse explanations for things she hasn't done wrong. Sometimes, she still asks questions that crack something open inside me. Are you sure you're not mad at me? Are you sure it's okay I didn't go? Are you sure they don't hate me? And every time, I answer the same way. I'm sure. And even if they do, that's not your burden to carry. Because here's the truth. I didn't learn until I was well into adulthood. Love that has conditions isn't love. It's rent, and children should never be asked to pay it. Our money stays in our life now. We take trips, real ones, not apology visits, not negotiations disguised as holidays. Just us, going somewhere because we want to, not because someone expects us to show up with a check. My husband laughs more. The kind of laughter that isn't careful, that doesn't check the room first. I sleep better. Not perfectly. Healing doesn't work that way. But I don't wake up with that familiar weight on my chest, already bracing for someone else's emergency. And Hannah, this is the part that matters. Hannah takes up space again. She leaves her backpack in the middle of the floor. She forgets things. She gets tired the normal way. She asks for help without calculating the cost. One night, we were sitting on the couch, the three of us, quiet in that comfortable way you earn. Not the tense silence you survive. She leaned her head against my shoulder and said, very casually, I'm glad we're not buying people anymore. I didn't trust my voice, so I just kissed the top of her head. People like to ask if I regret it, if cutting them off was too extreme, if I went too far, if I could have handled it differently. Here's what I know now. Some families don't fall apart when you stop paying. They were already broken. You were just holding the pieces together with your hands. And when you finally let go, they don't collapse because of you. They collapse because gravity finally gets a turn. People will call you cruel, selfish, dramatic. They always do when you stop doing the work they've been benefiting from. But boundaries aren't punishments. They're instructions. And if someone only values you when you're useful, then the moment you stop being useful, you learn exactly how much they valued you to begin with. I used to think being the strong one meant enduring everything quietly, carrying everyone else's weight without complaint, being the one who understood. Now I know it means knowing when to walk away and taking your child with you. So here's my question for you. If you think I did the right thing, comment 1. If you think I should have handled it differently, comment 0. I read the comments. I really do. And if this story made you feel seen, if you were the understanding kid, the responsible one, the family fixer, the one who paid in silence, then you already know this wasn't about $100. It was about finally saying no, protecting what actually matters, and choosing peace over permission. If you want more stories like this, real ones, quiet ones, the kind that don't shout but still change everything, subscribe. You're welcome here, and you don't owe anyone a thing.